Hey guys, and welcome to my first video on this channel. So originally I was going to start with my 2025 GL tier list, but then I thought me trying to convince more people to watch Runaway felt way more important. And look, I'm not trying to recruit you into a cult. However, the water is fine, it's a 10 out of 10 and we're having lots of fun over here. But seriously, I really want you to give this series a chance because it deserves way more love than it's currently getting. Let me just say this up front. Runaway is the most underhyped, underrated, and criminally underwatched GL of 2025. Runaway was made by a smaller company, Grow Entertainment, and honestly, they did an amazing job. But because it's from a smaller studio and it's also labeled as a horror, I feel like a lot of people chose to skip it, to include myself. Initially, I didn't start watching it until halfway through its run because I'm not a fan of horror at all. Actually, I think the last horror movie I watched before this was Paranormal Activity 4, which came out in 2012, I believe. Luckily, someone convinced me to give Runaway a chance, and now it's my second favorite GL series of all time at the end of 2025, which is something I genuinely did not expect. If you don't know Runaway's premise, here's the quick version. Wynn, who's one of our main characters, has 168 hours left to live. She's being haunted by a vengeful spirit, which is another one of our main characters, hell-bent on making her suffer until the day it takes its ultimate revenge on her for actions in her past life. Wynn then meets a reluctant Boone, who's our final main character, who is probably the only person who's able to give her a chance at survival and is also connected to Wynn's past life. And from there, the story just unravels. The series is intense, emotional, and honestly kind of heartbreaking. But the horror isn't just there to scare you. It's psychological, it connects to guilt, trauma, and the past in a really smart way. And somehow, in the middle of all that darkness, the series still manages to tell a really solid love story. It's a very slow burn, but every moment is well earned and worth the wait. One of the biggest reasons why Runaway works so well is because everything feels natural. Nothing feels rushed or awkward, and everything happens when it should. The jail aspect doesn't feel forced either. It doesn't feel like it's there just to check a box, it grows with the story. And honestly, this is rare. As we all know, a lot of GLs lean heavily into tropes or fan service, but Runaway treats its characters like real people. They have trauma, fears, and the romance develops around that instead of replacing it, which I believe gives the story more meaning. I also have to talk about the acting because the cast did not miss. My rule with acting is simple. If I forget I'm a viewer looking in, you're doing your job right. And that's exactly what happened here. No one pulled me out of the story, nothing felt forced, and the emotions felt real. The chemistry between the leads was subtle but strong, not loud or exaggerated, just natural. I was fully locked in for every episode. I genuinely believe Runaway is one of the most slept on GLs of 2025. It's not just good for a GL, it's actually just a really good series. If I could compare it to any other series, I would put it in the realm of Clarebell and Petrichor. Petrichor. Am I saying that right? Yes, I think it is Petrichor.
Patrikios.
I'm a film student, and in television there is a concept called quality television, and I would say these three series fall into that as they try to build complex stories and challenge the typical narratives we usually see in Thai GLs. Unfortunately, I think this is also the reason why these three series aren't everybody's cup of tea. I believe Clarebell was able to make a really huge breakthrough this year, but I still see people who don't necessarily jive with this series because it's so far from what we typically see in GLs. I do hope that Runaway eventually gains more popularity because it deserves it. The series took a risk by telling a darker story and it trusted the audience to keep up. That alone makes it stand out. Now, do I think it's perfect? No, but it almost is. I think the story needed a little more closure. I won't say here what I think needed more resolving because of spoilers, but what I will say is that it didn't ruin the story for me at all. I just wanted a bit more. I'm secretly hoping they give us an additional episode. I don't care if it ends badly for the characters, I just want my answers. Overall, Runaway is such a breath of fresh air in the GL space. It's emotional, it's intense, and most importantly, it's different from what we typically see in GLs. And I really hope more people give it a chance because it deserves its flowers. If you're hesitant and not sure if the genre is for you, I recommend you at least give the first episode a chance. I guarantee you won't be disappointed. I know it's labeled as a horror, but honestly, it really isn't that scary. I think the writers did such a good job of focusing on the situation that Win and Boone were in that the horror that you experience is almost kind of like explained away in a way that it's not meant to scare you, but in a way that it just lends itself to the story, so it's not as scary. You just understand what's going on, if that makes sense. But anyway, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my rambling, feel free to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.